Welcome back to AI for Allocators, the forum where Sean Ung brings you LP-centric insights to help you navigate this whole new AI era. This entire series is actually AI-generated based on his original blog posts. And today, we're tackling a question that is on every investment leader's mind. Are we moving too fast on AI, or maybe not fast enough?
And hey, just a quick reminder, if you want to read the full articles we're talking about today, or get your hands on some great supporting resources, you've got to visit Sean's LinkedIn page.
So, let's just dive right in. How fast should you be going on AI? This is the one question that seems to be keeping CIOs and investment leaders up at night. There's this gnawing tension, right? On one side, you feel like you're falling behind, but on the other, you're just completely overwhelmed by the sheer pace of it all. And this tension creates what Sean's article calls the Allocators AI dilemma. It is a genuine high-stakes balancing act. You've got this immense pressure to innovate and act, but it's bumping right up against your fiduciary duty to be careful and prudent. If you get this wrong, the consequences are, well, they're pretty serious. Sean's article puts it perfectly. Think of it like a speed dial with two really dangerous extremes. If you set the dial way down to a 1 or 2, that wait-and-see approach, well, that's not being cautious. It's actually the fastest path to what he calls quiet obsolescence. You're creating a capability gap that just compounds over time until it's impossible to close. But then, cranking it all the way up to a 9 or 10, going full throttle, that's a high-wire act. And honestly, it's just way too risky for most allocators. So, if both extremes are traps, how in the world do you find your correct speed? Well, the central idea from Sean's original blog post is this. The right pace isn't frantic, and it isn't passive. It has to be deliberate and purposeful. Let's really dig into why that slow pace is so dangerous for a second. It's not just about missing out on a few new tools. Here's the real problem. Teams that aren't building that AI muscle memory right now are quickly losing their ability to tell the difference between real AI alpha and just slick marketing fluff. And that, my friends, is a massive, maybe even lethal disadvantage when you're trying to do manager due diligence.
And what about the other side, going full throttle? Look, that kind of speed might be absolutely essential for a tech startup fighting for survival. But capital allocation? That's a different reality, isn't it? It's a world built on trust, on judgment, on relationships. All these areas where, nuanced human insight is still the absolute, irreplaceable core of the work. And that brings us to the sweet spot. For the vast majority of allocators, the answer is a deliberate speed of 6 or 7. See? It's not frantic, but it is intentional. It's not passive, but it is purposeful. This is how you build real, sustainable momentum without taking on a bunch of unnecessary risk.
Okay, if you only remember one thing from this whole explainer, make it this. This is a change management project, not an IT project. The second you make that mental shift, I promise you, everything just clicks into place. It stops being about software and starts being about what really matters, your people. It's about guiding their mindsets, addressing their fears, and getting everyone aligned. Now, once you adopt that change management mindset, it naturally leads to a very clear, very actionable 3-part playbook for leaders. These are the core messages you need to communicate to anchor your vision and really guide your team through this. It's a really simple but powerful sequence. First, you set the vision. Second, you set the expectation. And third, you set the focus. Let's break down what each of those actually means. All right, number 1, set the vision. This is critical. We're not talking about a string of one-off projects. That's a trap, and it almost always leads to a bunch of dead-end pilots that go nowhere. You have to frame AI as a permanent, ongoing investment in your core capabilities. This is the new engine that's going to fuel your alpha edge for the next decade.
Second, you have to set the expectation. And this is really a two-way street. As a leader, your message is, hey, we are going to provide you with the tools, the time, and the psychological safety you need to learn this stuff. But in return, the expectation is active engagement. As the article points out, clarity is kindness. And you have to be really clear that learning and adapting is not optional anymore.
And third, you set the focus. Your most important, highest leverage move as a leader isn't to chase a few one-off wins. It's to design the habitat where AI can actually flourish. Think of yourself as a gardener. For smaller teams, this means using AI to compete on insights, not just headcount. For larger teams, it's about finally connecting all that siloed data to unlock some truly powerful portfolio-level intelligence.
Okay, so we've talked about the rule, but what about the exception? Let's take a moment to talk about that small minority of leaders whose unique circumstances really do demand that full-throttle, high-speed approach.
If you are one of the few leaders whose unique circumstances demand a speed of 9 or 10, you have to understand the risks. Flawless execution becomes absolutely key. Otherwise, a full-throttle push can easily backfire, leading to serious team burnout, a drift away from your strategy, and a really painful loss of focus on what matters most: alpha.
Now, if that high-speed path is yours despite all those risks, Sean makes it very clear in his post that he'd be glad to be a sounding board. As he shared following his retirement earlier this year, his motivation is pretty simple. He wants to give back to the allocation community that he deeply respects, to keep his mind sharp, and to engage with great people. For him, thinking through these messy, high-stakes challenges with fellow allocators is genuinely the most rewarding work.
So, at the end of the day, whether you're moving at a deliberate 6 or a breakneck 9, the goal is exactly the same. It's all about thoughtfully using this kind of framework to build a smarter, more resilient, and truly formidable investment office. It's about letting AI become your edge.
If you found this breakdown helpful, please subscribe. Maybe share it with a colleague who's wrestling with the same questions, and definitely visit Sean's LinkedIn for more tools and even some free templates to help your team make smarter AI decisions. And really, feel free to reach out to him directly with any questions or thoughts you might have.
Because honestly, as he says, nothing gives him more joy than seeing allocators thrive in this new AI-driven world. So let AI work for you. Let AI be your edge. Thanks so much for joining us.